politicians and activists all ran away. Some of them were not even around, they have the opportunity to express themselves. Having seen this from 1999 to the present 2023, I can confidently say that democracy in Nigeria, we have done well for transiting from one administration to another.
Laws help improve the understanding of democracy. We've had so many laws, including the electoral law that was literally passed last year. And it also gave the notion that we are going to have credible, fair, transparent elections, and possibly the results will reflect the position of the people over and over again. I want us to explore a little bit of the law around democracy, the laws that have been created, especially now that where we are, it looks like those laws have also provided reasons for people to say we have not followed those laws. The electoral laws promised by INEC with regards to what they would do to the 2023 elections, whether it's the gubernatorial election, the presidential election, or for the different lawmaker positions as we have. Do you think there's been a deviation from the electoral laws as promised by INEC and as expected by Nigerians?
We cannot actually say that the law have not been followed. Yes, if some certain part of the law, like the transmission that we expected to have been an order of the day during the presidential election, if it was not followed, does not mean that other part of the laws, of the electoral laws, were not being followed. Like the Federal House of Rep and the senatorial election were transmitted. And beside, part of the law is that the law gave INEC the powers to review. Even after the election, even after the returning officer might have announced the results, the law now empower. Before, when the returning officer announces result and he says, fine, I'll go to court if you are not satisfied. But the law has given INEC the opportunity and the powers to review. Take example what happened in Abuja State, where a returning officer came with a result. And I said, look, we have announced this result. Enter the result, the state returning officer. And the woman said, no, she can't. But INEC, after reviewing it, the other case was the order of the day. So, yes, sometimes you might have some loopholes in a law. But what happens is that at the end of the day, it should be corrected. And beside, we are just 23 years of democracy in Nigeria. I'm talking about from 1999 to just 23 years. Some of these are nations we compare ourselves with, and when we say our electoral law is not working, they are more than 100 years democracy. Some are 150 years. So I believe that as time goes on, all these things will get better. But the issue is that we need people with capacity and people who understand the importance of where they are whether in offices, especially the electoral empires, for them to know that they are dealing with millions and millions of Nigerians. So for me, the law that we use now to conduct our election and to bring in our democratic process, not actually saying that we have done bad. At least we have done 80 or 90% good.
Do you think that's the viewpoint from the people from the Southeast? Because now more than ever before, we're seeing agitations with regards to the fact that, the 2023 elections were supposed to deliver certain kind of credibility for different people from the Southeast, both within the Southeast and outside of the Southeast zones in terms of the representation of the Southeasterners in the country. And that's provided some level of challenge. We've heard some dissenting voices talk about now is the time for agitations to be taken to the next level. And those voices have also met with a measure of calm from people who have said that's not the right way to go. There have been people who have even suggested the idea of interim government. What's your take?
You remember, it's a democracy. I'm happy you said democracy. Government of the people, by the people, and for the people. So it's not the autocracy, or it's not a government of a section, by a section for a section. So, yes, Southeast has been demanding to have a shot in the presidency. But these things comes with alliance. You don't do it alone in Southeast.
Do you think the Southeast has made right alliances with time across parties, including your party? I think you're with the APC, right?
Yes, of course. As time goes on, these things will be corrected. Things, like I said earlier on, is just sometimes when you look at this, it's not something that you just do it and it comes immediately. Sometimes it takes time. As time goes on, people will start understanding a group of people and say, okay, let's give these people a time. So, but for me, I believe that when as time goes on, these things will be corrected. You made mention of people not satisfied and then calling for interim government. For me, I believe that the call for interim government is unnecessary and is unacceptable. And this should be the mind of every Democrat. If you believe in democracy, the worst civilian rule is better than military rule. I gave you an example of freedom of speech. No matter how good any military rule is, remember that there are certain things you don't say in public. But democracy, you see what is happening now. People can express, people can do their demonstration without nobody stopping them, without nobody jailing them or putting them inside cell. That is democracy in place. So I believe that anybody that has any challenges during the election, after election, should approach the courts instead of calling for interim government, which has no place in Nigerian constitution. So the best thing we can do in this country is to remain united and remain together, because democracy is better than any, whether call it military or interim government. You can't have a military or interim national government when we have a democracy we have been enjoying for the past 23 years.
You've been a very strong voice with the All Progressive Congress, APC, especially in the Southeast. And I know you've come under criticism along the lines of your alliances with, for example, the President-elect Tinubu. And along those lines, some people have said your alliances have come at a cost of you denying some of the pure representation of the people from the Southeast. What do you make of that? Especially when people say, oh, well, it's just, I mean, you also are strongly associated with His Excellency, Mr. Rogers Okorocha. You've had your bid at the role to be a gubernatorial candidate at some point in time, and there was so much drama around that as well, and around the role INEC played in how the results and the rest of it went follow through. But alliances or denying representation of people from Southeast, and the concept around that to say, oh, this is the basis on which some people have called for interim government.
Yes, APC, my boss, Owele Rochas Okrocha, in fact, few of them, including the Minister of Labour, Dr. Ngiki, these are the group of people that brought APC to the Southeast. Yes, we would not deny that we voted for President Muhammadu Buhari in 2015. In 2015, yes. And President Muhammadu Buhari later became the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, which we cannot deny. But looking at scenario that brought in President Muhammadu Buhari, the security challenges and the rest of the things, that we now have at least some certain quarters, some certain areas, the security challenges, looking at Borno and the rest, are reduced. And that does not mean that we are totally not in tandem with our people. We are. Remember, it's democracy. And democracy, you have a freedom to join any political party you want to join. And you cannot force your candidate or your own view to anybody. And that is democracy. So, yes, we might have different views. I've seen a place where mother, children are in a different party, where father is in a different party. In fact, he played in this last election, where you see mother is in one party and father is in another party, and the children are in another party. That is the democracy. That is how democracy should be. It is not a democracy of hate, where because my friend, my brother is in another party, because of that, I see him as my enemy, or I don't even want to greet him. And when you mention his name, it's war, fight, and hate. So we should be able to tolerate that democracy is do your own and let me do my own. Like my friend will put, and my friend will rightly say, do your own, let me do my own, shine your shine, and I shine my shine. You cannot shine my shine, and then
stop yours, some other person's shine.
So let everybody have his own way of living.
It kind of brings to mind the experience. You mentioned your principal, His Excellency Okorocha, some minutes ago, and I just remember that a few months ago he had quite an experience dealing with the law or interacting with the law, as I would say. It's including, I don't know whether to describe that as interacting with the law, but the roof of his house was badly damaged, his gate was badly damaged, in order for security operatives to gain access to him, in order for him to respond to questions that were before the law. And coincidentally, he's a member of the APC. He was also hoping to, clinch the ticket of the party as a presidential candidate. And all that played out essentially under the APC, where you also belong. And I'm just exploring the concept of the rule of law and how that's played out so far from the party that you belong to and the same party in the position where the leaders are now elect.
What happened, I think I should not even dabble into that because it's a matter that is in court. So it's something I don't need to say. But when you talk about rule of law, in every democratic setting, there is need to accept that freedom of speech, like I said earlier on, and freedom of association. But I believe that even at this point in time in our nation, looking at President Muhammad Buhari and looking at where he's coming from as a former military head of state, he has done well in even allowing people to express their mind, to associate and do whatever they want.
Okay.
There are some places where you see a former military head of state being a civilian president, and the other side of this thing becomes the case. But for me, looking at him and looking at how he has tolerated even abuses means that he's a Democrat.
Give me a moment. I'll be back after the break. We'll talk more about much of the scheme of some suspects to talk about the interim government. We'll be back shortly.
There's a place where you can get it all.
Audio Jungle.
Nothing breaks the news like the news. Trust me, I can prove it. I do it every morning on Morning Crossfire from 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Nigeria Info 95.1, and I'm Femi D. Amede. Join the biggest conversation around the national politics every day in a way that is trustworthy, full of passion, and yes, covers the biggest politics and the stories that matter to you. See, you have all the reasons to find out what's going on in Nigeria and be engaged differently. Let's talk. That's the way to go, even this morning.
This is Nigeria Info.
Nigeria Info.
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 is Nigeria Info.
Nigeria Info.
This 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 is Nigeria Info.
Nigeria Info.
Okorocha, who had his own bidding at attempted bidding to be a president of the country on the platform of the APC. We've been talking extensively about interim government, as some people have suggested, and what that means and why they would suggest such. And I want to explore back. Welcome back. Let's rally back around the issue of interim government, essentially because we're seeing dissenting voices, for example, in Lagos State, where on many sides, yes, freedom of speech in such a way that is being expressed to the point where laws have been broken, associations have been broken, the peace of the land is getting fragile. And one would think about the Mazi that talked about IPOB and the likes of that in Lagos State, where the DSS have now asked for an interrogation. I'm using very conservative words, right? Asked for an interrogation along the lines of that. If people were not pushing for interim government, however, they're pushing for things that really go on the attack against democracy, as you suggested, it doesn't look like they're building bridges. They're breaking them down.
No reasonable Democrats, I said earlier on, can ask for an interim government. And beside our political leaders, it doesn't matter the party they belong to. Their statement and some of their utterances are the cause of why you see the masses on the streets turn the other way. One, you do not enjoy democracy, and because you have freedom of speech or because you have freedom of association, and you come out and call for interim government or bring up hate messages. You made mention of somebody being arrested because he called for. It's not even only that. You have seen a situation where people call and ask a group of people to leave their state. You have seen the place where people say this person is a Muslim, don't vote him, he's Muslim ticket. Those are unnecessary. What we need in this country is democracy that will bring food on the table of the poor masses. And besides, let me tell you something that some of the leaders you see today call for fight and war, and these who cannot control their utterances are those people, if you go to their family, from their security to their chief to whatever they have, they just have their immediate people around them. Maybe you're an Efik man, they have Efik around them. Any reasonable Nigeria, a politician whose driver is an Hausa, whose chef is from Akwa Ibom, or whose security man is from the north, you can never call for such kind of a thing. So our political leaders has a lot to do. And for me, in 100%, I support DSSs to fish out those who are calling for an interim government.
Who are the people you think are suspects on this?
No. DSS have not come up to say these are the suspects on this. They are still going.
Do you think they have exact locations, profile, and reasons for such?
I am not a DSS to make that statement now, but for them to have come up with this statement means that they have done their thorough work, investigation, and they have seen that, and they have to caution those people. So whoever the person is, whoever the group is, they should desist from it, because we want to enjoy democracy, that so many people were killed, so many people were maimed because of this democracy. And going back again to start all afresh again is not the best way to go. And those who believe that the only way they can gain or the only way they can be part of what is happening is for them to call for interim government or for them to preach hate speeches is unacceptable. I think they should look at the country that where we are now, all we need is peace. It doesn't matter where you are coming from. It doesn't matter where you are. Yes, INEC already has declared that Asiwaju Ahmed Bola Tinubu is the president-elect. If you are not satisfied, there is a process you can follow to demand for justice, and that is court. If court at the end of the day adjudicate that so things that was done was wrong, then the order becomes the this thing. But if not, then we should also come together to work as one country. If you call for war and it happens, is between you and I. You think that is you run away from the country because there is war in Nigeria and then you run away. Probably that day you get to the airport and they tell you airport is closed. And you want to drive out from the airport and you see demonstrations. So what will you do? So for me and for well-meaning Nigerians who love democracy, there is no room for interim government or there is no room for military takeover.
So I find it interesting that you talked about INEC declaring Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who is the president-elect now, in the position. Of course, days to come, he's planning his transition and the likes of that. But he's also taken over from the APC government, in which a lot of Nigerians have described their performance under President Muhammadu Buhari at it being not at its best in many areas in which their lives have been touched, and many of the other things that they so much looked forward to as promised, essentially not been fulfilled. Also, the president in the most prime way. I was just thinking about this, that do you think, peradventure, what type of building do you think President-elect, if he gets it, if it's, the court cases that are being up against him, do not do see him retain his role, essentially. What do you think the type of build-up that Nigeria needs through somebody like Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu? Let's say I'm putting you in a position as a think tank, maybe even an official of the government. Is that a possibility?
At the end of the day, if the president-elect, after the court processes, and he becomes our president, what I need to advise, if I have that opportunity to advise him, is for him to form a government of national unity. What do I mean by that? Now, you are a president. You are not the president of APC. Neither are you a president of a section of the country. You are the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. It does not matter whether this person is in party A, whether this person is in party B, whether this person is in party C. What matters is the unity of this country. In party A, there are brains. In party B, there are brains. In party C, there are. So what you need to do, pick from here, join them together, and let this country move forward. Because the problem we normally have in this country is that once you have a president, the next thing is that people from that area will say, this is our time. Oh. We shouldn't waste time. We shouldn't make mistake. And after 8 years, we won't have anything. And before you know it, while the president is going this way, the people around him will be pushing him the other way. So from beginning, if by the grace of God, Ahmed Bola Tinubu is sworn in as a president, the best thing he can do is to unite this country. It doesn't matter where you are coming from. It doesn't matter whether this section of the country or this state voted you or not. In fact, what people should see is that you are not a president of a section, or you are not a president of a party. Yes, this group of people or this state did not vote for me. If I am the president in his shoe, in fact, I will go and do more in that state so that next election, that state will vote for me. That's how he's supposed to go. And I believe that at the end of the day, his advisors and people around him will advise him well so that this country will move forward.
I can open up the phone lines at this point in time. You want to join in into this conversation respectfully, I must say, okay? Joining into the conversation respectfully. Your choice of words is important to me. Don't embarrass yourself. Don't embarrass the guests. Let's get the best of what you think on various subjects you want to ask Mr. Uche Nwosu, who is with us live in the studio this very morning. The lines remain 07009510000. Okay, that's the telephone number if you're reaching out this very morning. You can also join in on 08095974869. I do see some of your comments as you've written them on Facebook under the video, so I'm going to get the chance to read some of the things you're writing from there at some point in time. Also, the WhatsApp messages have come in, a good number of them, so we'll get to read some of the things you're writing in. Remember to follow through with our editorial guides, okay? All right, let's listen to you. Good morning to you. Welcome to the show.
Yes, good morning, this is Femi D.
All right, good morning.
Your,
yes, welcome.
I think your guest.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Good morning.
Yes, my name is Baritasa.
Go on there, sir.
There is this concept of sportsmanship that is applicable to football and other sporting activities. It is to the extent that after a strenuous game, winners and losers congratulate themselves. Of course, taking into consideration that substantially the rules were adhered to. And I think that's what we do in this election, the presidential election. You see, no doubt there were deviations
Okay.
from the law.
Yes, Pastor, you may want to speed up so I can also take other calls.
Yes, and accept the result. And I know that Nigeria will be great country. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much as well for your time this morning. Okay, here's another call coming in. Good morning to you.
Mazi Femi D, how are you?
Very well, and you, sir? Oh, he calls me Mazi again. Good morning.
This is Mazi. They're surrounded by Mazi. The
It's the one live.
The chief. Okay, Mazi Ndewo. Let me greet in Igbo.
Ndewo. Good morning, my brother.
Thank you, sir. Okay, my name is Destiny Anthony. Femi D, let me start from you. Anytime you kind of want to, the listeners, behave yourself. I think that we are adults. This is a radio station. There are things that are expected of you. You can go to your WhatsApp and do anything you want to say. If you go to Facebook, you say whatever you want to say. They will penalize you. You know the normal thing. If you go, because of my position on religion, several times you see my account restricted. We should mature to a point where you don't throw things out in the public. We have children listening as well. Because each time you want to remind us, I feel bad. We are adults. Nobody needs to tell us, what and what to do, how to behave. I left my house. I dressed well. Imagine me leaving my house, not putting on anything. And I'm not crazy.
I don't want to imagine it, please.
But lastly, with the few seconds I have, please, I've been saying it here, Dr. Femi, check all my calls. Even before the election, the INEC, I keep saying, everybody prepare your mind. Whoever you support may lose, may win. And if what you expect doesn't happen, the constitutional way is go to court. And the people who are aggrieved have gone to court. There is no need to create enmity. We have just one country, Nigeria. We need to keep it. If this country is up in flames, nobody is going to be here. You won't be in the studio. I won't be out here looking for what to do. So, yes, to some people, he has not, because we still have the judiciary to, go through as well. But please, we don't have to, pick up arms against ourselves. You may not like whoever that the INEC has declared. We are in court. If the court turns it up that says no, is Mr. A or B that is the winner, so be it.
All right.
Let's move on. Thank you so much. I appreciate it, bro.
Thank you so much as well for your time. Let's take more calls in. Good morning to you.
Thank you, Uncle Femi. Dr. Femi, good morning.
Good morning.
It's about Sanjay from Amali.
All right, then. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm your guest over there. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Thank you. The analysis that you have been given, in fact, the development, but we still have the questions to ask you pertaining the issue after the elections, when announcing the elections. Do you think the elections is credible? The INEC announced it. Do you think that election is credible? during the process what INEC has come up
Okay.
to tell Nigerians that we want to do. Do you think it's credible?
If the election is credible. Okay. It would take that
Yes,
on. All right.
Okay, last question is this. On the issue that you said, Tinubu has become a president, it should unite Nigerians. Yeah, quite all right. The issue of insecurity is part of our problem, especially in the north. Not even in the north, from the part of the south,
Okay.
east, like life of Imo State. What do you think it will happen? Please, thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Let me make it a double dose question and comments. Somebody else is joining in as well. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Femi D.
Yes, how are you today?
And our guests, good morning. Very well, thank you. And you?
Thank you. Good morning.
This is Mary from Gwagwalada.
Welcome, Mary.
Yeah, I want to differ or contribute on the issue of how you ask our guest how far he thinks we have done democratically, and he said we are doing very well. And he went ahead to say other countries that are in this democracy got it, that they have done it for 150 years and 200 years. And I want to say we can also make a difference. We should be progressing gradually. We can make a difference so that we also will be used as a reference point. Let it be that the other countries got it right after 150 years. Nigeria got it right after 20 years. We can set the pace too for others to follow. It mustn't be we mustn't be trailing people behind. We can also do it for other people to follow. So I don't like the show who always want to cite example. When it is not going well, we cite the example. When it is going well, we don't take that one. We should strive to do the right thing so that others will also say, Nigeria, we want to do it like Nigeria, so that we can be a reference point. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mary. Emeka from NPC Tower says, Femdi, your guest is economical with the truth by saying that the Southeast will continue to negotiate, build bridges across board, lobbying for power to be given to the Southeast. And I ask, is 23 years still counting not good enough for power to move to the Southeast? Don't forget, if Obi fails to win in court case, why don't we pray for it to be so? If it means that after Tinubu's 8 years, power will shift to the north for another 8 years, which will return back again to the south. Okay, I think your message is quite long, so I'm just going to leave it at that. But I think I do get a good part of your response. Mr. Ike says, hello, FMD. Thanks for your professional questions that were not answered. By the way, your guest rather betrayed sentiments around the electoral laws. What does he mean that the South should build alliance with others when they had been the backbone of the PDP before the recent time? They massively voted Abiola, whose election was annulled. What is the building alliance? What does building alliances mean to him? All right, well, that's the question he would get a chance to answer as well. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Morning to you. Welcome.
My name is Charles. I'm calling from WC2.
All right, Charles, welcome. Let's hear you.
Morning, my brother Charles.
It's also an in-law to former governor of the state.
Yes.
Married the daughter.
Yes, I'm aware, and I've spoken to the daughter too before.
They are the ones playing the politics in the state.
And I'm sure everybody knows that everybody is involved in politics, essentially.
For the past 4 years, they have not been busy with the political appointment. Saying government is coming. We have to promote them to get another job because that's where they get.
All right, looks like this is not one of the callers that is respectful enough. Good morning to you.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Femi D.
Yes, welcome. Let's get to hear your comment and question.
All right, my name is Omotayo from Galadimawa.
All right, good to have you on.
Yes, your guest made a very fantastic statement that I want to bring up an illustration for, which personally, I don't know, but I have another thought. So he mentioned the fact that the election went successfully, and if anybody has doubts, the person is to go to court. Because every process the fact that he said the fact that a certain process of the election was not followed, that is in the act, electoral act, that is uploading from the polling unit to the presidential. He said it doesn't mean, that alone does not mean that the entire process didn't go well. Now, I want us to see that process, I mean, the INEC and the electoral act as a train, INEC as a train, and then the railway as the act. Now, imagine that train is traveling from one point to another, and then part of the rail was removed in front ahead, what do you think will happen to the train at that when it gets to that point where the rail was removed? Of course, the train will crash land, and it will be a disaster.
It will derail.
And then you now want to come up to tell us that the train gone to the state where it was actually traveling through, so we can assume that in that case it was a safe trip.
Okay.
No,
so
now,
I get your point. Do you want to make a question to it? Do you want to put out a question to him on that for clarification on what he has said about that?
Exactly. So if a train is traveling on a rail, which is the train, which is the INEC, and then the rail, which is the act that is supposed to follow through, and then along the line, a part of the rail was removed in front.
So in other words, the system was not perfect enough to deliver on what it promised, right? And even though it arrived at its destination, you're saying that there's reasons to look at how that process was done. I think that's the point you're making, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'm saying that process cannot be said to be a safe trip because there was disaster on the way.
Yeah, but you also added an addendum when you talked about people can go to court to question that. I think that's what the court is there for, if I presume correctly.
Very well.
True, yeah. All right. Good morning to you. Oh, that's person that's put us on note. Okay, we've had comments. Let me give you the chance to respond. Across board. What are you thinking now?
Let me come. First of all, a caller called and was questioning about this last person that was questioning the outcome of the election. Yes, what people should understand is that there is no electoral process that is 100% correct. Even the day of presidential election, our material in my polling unit came in around 1 o'clock. And that was not what INEC told us. It was supposed to be there by 8 o'clock in the morning, and by 2 o'clock we were supposed to be done. And after the election, the one for the Federal House of Rep went through, was uploaded. The one for the Senate was uploaded. The one for the presidential election was not uploaded, which earlier on I said that it was the problem. In fact, the problem, where this problem started, it was from INEC. If INEC knew that there was going to be problem, they would have said the presidential or the National Assembly election, we trust that we will upload it. But if it becomes difficult, we will take it manually. And let people from beginning know that...
Understand there's an addendum.
Yes, understanding that there's an addendum, then verbally promise people on a live TV that this is what we're going to do, and at the end of the day, you don't do it. So the problem is INEC. It's not the politicians. The politicians have done their own. The electorate have voted, but the INEC refused to do that. That is one. But what I'm saying is that you have states where you have an incumbent governors, and they lost the election. Was it not credible, like Zamfara, like Sokoto, like Abia, and some states where an incumbent governor like Plateau? Yes, INEC, in the other way, did not do well in some certain areas of the electoral law, which they promised that they are going to abide. But there are other places that we also had credible elections.
So that's selective credibility. Is that what I would say?
And then you have other places where there was a lot of electoral vandalism, like in Lagos, where people were not allowed to vote in some certain places. So looking at it generally, and you ask, were we able to have an election that is 100% credible? The answer is no. But do we have election that brought in
that we successful enough to produce results?
To produce, not successfully enough to produce results, but at least there are some certain places where you think that this election is already concluded, the opposition cannot win. What I'm saying is that we are just young with this democracy. There is bound to have some challenges. But when that challenges come, what do? There are means and places you can go to reclaim your mandate. And that is courts. I hear people say they don't have this thing in Nigerian judiciary. Let us give them that opportunity to adjudicate on these electoral processes. And then by the grace of God, you'll be surprised that at the end of the day, some of these things might be autonomous. Some of the National Assembly, the Houses of Assembly, and some governmental election might be autonomous. So let's give them opportunity to adjudicate on this matter, and then we'll move forward. The most important thing is that should we start fighting each other because of election? And beside, you that is in the market fighting, some of these leaders, their children are all abroad. At the end of the day, you see the big man in APC and the big man in PDP shaking hands, laughing together, clapping, drinking the same champagne. The same people in APC shouting and hailing Bola Ahmed Tinubu might tomorrow move to PDP again and leave Ahmed Bola Tinubu and move to Atiku. Some of them will move to Peter Obi. And at the end of the day, the masses, those of them selling oranges, those of them selling vegetables in the market, are people that will bear the grunt because the foods are not on their table. So what am I talking about? That we, Nigerians, especially the masses, should be able to understand that, yes, we should not look at those calling for war or those calling that this certain group of people should leave their state or this certain group of people should not come out or this certain group of people should not be allowed to do this. Those people calling for such kind of war are the people that are the problem of this nation, not even the masses.
Do you think I mean, we have we're really pressed for time, but in concluding, do you think the administration of the APC under Bola Ahmed Tinubu will have Nigerians experience better life compared to all the other kind of experiences they've had before now? I don't know if you can answer it in about 10 or 20 seconds.
I've not worked with Ahmed Bola Tinubu before.
So you can vouch for his,
I can vouch
for his performance level?
Yes, I cannot vouch. So it's only when he comes in, Nigerians will be able to see.
Would you work with him if invited to you?
If Bola Tinubu invite me to work with him, I've not made up my mind for that. I have a foundation that I run, and I'm doing my program in school, so I'm busy with some other things now.
As the former commissioner for land survey announcing for Imo State from 2013 to 2015, he did step up to become deputy chief of staff and then chief of staff, and at some point was the governorship candidate in the same state, Imo State. Thank you so much, Mr. Muche.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Good morning.
This is Nigeria